afternoon, everyone. This is Maurice from the M Model Railroad. As you can see here, I have the Veranda turbine from MTH. And this particular model has a story. And not a very good one at that. This model was basically originally my uncle's model. I guess he bought it quite a few years ago. I believe this model's about 5 years old. And it's a great looking model. I have one myself. I have the one with road number 70. And as you can see, this one is actually 73. And this one, I actually traded 2 engines, which were, I believe they were, SD 40Ts or something to that extent. I believe that's what the engines were. I exchanged with my uncle for this engine because I really like the turbines, especially the Verandas. And my uncle had nothing but problems with this model. From the jump. The first problem started was actually the smoke unit. The smoke unit went bad on it. And, he tried to look at it, try to fix it. And he wasn't able to actually get it working all that well. And then I tried to gander at it, and I got it somewhat working. Better. But eventually, for some reason, the decoder actually basically took a crap, more or less. When I fully inspected the model and checked out the decoder, the DCS decoder, there was a chip that actually had a bubble on it, or it actually not caught fire, but it basically burnt up. And the way the DCS sits in the chassis, there's like some, I guess, 2-sided tape that it sits on to keep it in place. And you can clearly see on the 2-sided tape the burn marks from the chip. And basically it shorted out the lights, and it's a real mess. So I took it to a hobby shop and to have them actually ship it back to MTH to get it repaired. And this was like, I'd say about a year ago this happened. And I totally forgot about it. I literally totally forgot about the model. And the only reason why I remember it, I still had the receipt for it being like a tag that that I receive when I submit the model into the hobby shop. Basically, when they send it over, I have the tag numbers and all this kind of stuff, and they can actually keep track of what's going on. When the model returns, I just give them the tag, and then I'll pay whatever MTH charge for the repairs. So, saying that, I managed to go back to the hobby shop, and I submit the ticket in, and I get the box back, and it was like, the manager of the place, he was basically saying to me that MTH had changed some rules, or actually what they have done, if I'm not mistaken, they had a shop, a repair shop in Maryland, and basically that repair shop, they repair the HO scales and the O gauge scales, engines or whatever merchandise that they have. And what he was saying was they decided to have the HO separate. The HO repair services separate from O gauge. So they're basically in another state. They moved to another state, they relocated, and what have you. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves, he said Michigan. Places in Michigan. I think that's where it is. I have to actually clarify that. But I don't know, for some apparent reason, he never sent it to them, which I find kind of odd. It was, you know, I didn't argue with, you know, not argue, but I didn't question it. I just left it alone. He told me that I have to ship it back to them. It's almost like he didn't want to be bothered with it. So I was like, okay. I already had in my head what I was going to do with this model, and that is basically what this video is about. When I got home with it last night, I took the shell off and I literally just ripped all the electronics out. Everything, PCB boards, and matter of fact, this model has a lot of PCB boards. It has at least several PCB boards in this thing. I can't understand why they did that, why they designed it. I guess it's to simplify, you know, because there's a lot of wiring in this model, and soon you're going to see that. You know, it's a very complicated model. So basically, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do in this next segment, so hold on. Okay, I'm back. So here's the model disassembled. I have taken the DCS decoder and some of its PCB boards off the model. Just cut it off, you know, unscrewed it and cut it off the chassis. And there is a lot of wiring, as you can see. Ton of wiring that I have to figure out what's what. I mean, basically, I'm going to rewire the whole thing. I'm going to take all this wiring out. And these are the PCB, excuse me. And there is the DCS decoder on top. And on the bottom here is actually the Loksound 21 pin, version 4. And you can see how far the technology have gotten. I mean, this model was made about, I believe, at least 5 years ago. And you can look at the decoders and you can see that the smaller package actually has a lot more going for it. I mean, for one, it's programmable. Actually, believe it or not, the DCS decoders are programmable, but you need to buy a whole slew of stuff to actually program it. Which I came very short. Actually, I came very close to buying it at one point, and I just changed my mind. It's just too much trouble. But you know, you can't get nowhere near the programmability of an ESU decoder. I mean, to me, in my opinion, it's the best decoders out there. So, the plan for this model is to actually put that little decoder in there to actually operate the engine. Yeah, this is going to be a huge task to actually complete. Basically, I'm going to change the speakers out, and I was going to pull the speakers out and I forgot to pull them out. The ESU has these new type of speakers that I'm going to actually use. Matter of fact, let me pull them out right now. Hold on a second. I'm going to go into my little case here. I'm going to get them out. Here we go. I have two of these, and actually I was going to buy another one. I should have bought one, another extra one, but in another 2 weeks when I head to the hobby shop, I'm going to actually pick up a couple of these. These are sugar cube speakers, and I heard different comparisons online of these type of speakers, and these actually sound the best. I think another one, I think it was by Streamline, has another good set as well. But the sounds are rich and they sound pretty authentic. It has a wide range of sounds from highs to lows, which I am looking for. So I mean, this should sound pretty good. I'm going to have two of these mounted on this engine, so that's going to be very interesting to see how that works out. So yeah, basically this is going to be a big job. I mean, the rest of the model has to be disassembled, and so I can see what wiring belongs to what, so I can actually rewire it. And where's that other part? Hold on, there's something else I want to show you guys. Alright, here we go. This is an adapter that will actually connect to the 21 pin. And this one will give me much more options when it comes to lighting and different functionalities. So now this decoder is very extensive. I mean, I really like this one. I mean, I thought about even taking on, I'm not actually going to use these. These I'm just going to just, probably the only one I'm going to use is the light, which is this one here. So actually it's connected. Yeah, so this I'm going to use. I'm going to use the light board on this, and also going to use the light board for this. These lights will have to be changed out because if you look at them closely, they are kind of burnt out because the system actually is shorted because of this DCS decoder. What happened with the DCS decoder is that one of the chips burnt out, and when that happened, it actually shorted the system, shorted the model. And this one was also actually burnt. Now the question is, are the motors good? Still good? And that is my big concern, because this will take much longer to repair if these motors are bad. That means I have to buy the motors. There's speakers here, and there's one in the fuel tank. Those are going to be removed for this. So that's going to be cool. That's going to be some work. Now, as for the smoke unit, there is a smoke unit still, which was actually the original problem when my uncle first got the model. It was giving a lot of problems. I got it to work to a certain extent at the time, but this may have to be replaced. I still want the smoke on this model. Good thing about ESU, they do have smoke functions. That's what I like ESU so much, because of its smoke functions. Matter of fact, ESU also have a smoke. They do have a smoke. Get my thoughts together. They have a smoke box that they have on their own, but they have two versions of it though. I think one is, I don't remember, I think one is N and one is actually O gauge. I don't think an O gauge will fit in there, but I'll check their site and see if I can replace it, or if I can still get this one to work. This one I have to test to see if I can still get it to work. So, yeah, overall, yeah, this is going to keep me busy. This is going to be, I'm going to film this, the actual steps in actually getting this model up and running again with a new type of decoder. And that's going to be a very interesting task. Now, I thought about actually doing a dual decoder setup. Now, dual decoders in ESUs, they're a little tricky to actually get working, from what I've read. I don't know. I got to see how this works and how I'm going to want to do this. It's going to be a lot of work to this model to actually get it working. And also, the tender, which you don't see in this video, and that's going to have a separate decoder, believe it or not, because there is a problem with the connection. The connection broke for the lights on that particular tender. This model just wasn't, it was a blem from the start. It was a lot of problems. You know, I inherited this model from my uncle, actually from a trade that I did with him. And so, you know, he never had luck with this model. So I'm actually going to try to bring it back to life and, you know, get this thing working. If this project is successful, I will do that to the other one I have. I mentioned before, I have another turbine Veranda unit from MTH, which works perfectly. I better knock on some wood, but yeah, it works perfectly at the moment. I never had a problem with it. The biggest gripe I have with these models is actually the traction. The traction, due to its wheel truck configuration, where the traction motors are, which are here and here, due to its design, doesn't have a lot of traction, especially upgrades. Upgrades, this thing can barely pull itself up, let alone pull a consist of trains. You will have to have a helper or a couple of helpers to actually get this engine up a grade, or pulling a very large consist. I mean, I did see on level ground some people pulling at least 50 cars with it, but our layout is going to have, as you've seen in other videos, that we have that large helix, and we're still trying to figure out if we're going to build another helix. Well, actually, my uncle builds it. He loves doing that stuff. Or have it coming down a grade, slowly down a grade, some kind of mountain paths or something to that extent. It's actually something to think about. It's still in the planning stages. It's, you know, my uncle, he likes working as it goes along, as opposed to planning the whole route in one shot. Kind of makes it more difficult to work on, but it's not impossible. I just thinking that maybe I just have to design the layout step by step, as opposed to just designing one big layout. More or less do it modularly, so it'll actually be easier to actually, you know, to design, and everybody will be happy. But back to this. Yeah, so that's basically it. You know, it's one of my favorite models, the Verandas. If I can get that working, I mean, one day it might be running side by side with scale trains turbine. It's not prototypical, since they didn't exist at the same time, but hey, you can run anything you want when it comes to this hobby. So, everyone, I will keep you posted. I will come with other videos in the future of this model, what the status is, and hopefully it will go fairly smoothly. So everyone, have a good afternoon and take care.